So we're here in Venice Beach with Josh Fechter, co-founder of BAMF Media. Really awesome business model that he started. So I'm gonna give him a chance to tell us a little bit about that, but also his journey. And the focus today is talk about vulnerability, because vulnerability is something that a lot of people don't practice and understand just how important that is in building your business, building your brand, and getting people behind your company. Because a company is nothing but a group of people all working collectively to accelerate something towards a new chapter. So let's talk about that a little bit, Josh. So first, introduce yourself.
Yeah, thank you, Nathan, for having me. My name is Josh Fechter. I'm the co-founder of BAMF Media. I also have a small software company where we help authors write books faster. And I do run the large community online for marketers and founders. That's how most people know about who I am. And I also today get introduced as the guy who broke LinkedIn's algorithm. I racked up around 200 million views in the span of 6 months writing content on the platform and actually forced them to change their algorithm, which was hilarious to say the least.
Yes, that's a really big feat. That's actually how we met, was by joining in BAMF. My head of growth, Juan Campos, said it's an awesome opportunity to get involved in that. And once I started practicing a lot of what he preached and the things that he was doing on LinkedIn, big doors open for our business model. So tell me a little bit more about how that works. So when you're putting out this content and you're racking up that many views, like what's making it work?
Yeah, great question. It's really the power of storytelling. So one of the things that I did, which not a lot of people were doing at the time, I think people are getting more into it, is actually being vulnerable about what's happening in your business. People are so afraid to talk about what's happening in their employees' lives, in their co-founders' lives, or even in their investors' lives, right? And all that content was just not on the internet. So I was filling this huge need that just had been existing for a length of time, to say the least, and no one was touching upon it. So I figured, hey, I'm going to start writing these stories about, I just hired a 21-year-old immigrant. We gave him a chance to perform at our company, and he did, and now he's one of our most successful employees. So giving that hero's journey and saying, hey, there's a lot that happens behind the scenes before you actually interact with our employees. There's all these stories that make them unique individuals, and putting that out there. And before I knew it, I mean, each story was just going viral just because people wanted this content so much.
Absolutely. And another thing I'm thinking about too is when you're putting that content out there, what's different about your storytelling than somebody else's? I mean, everybody's posting things every day. Why would someone want to read your content over someone else's and give it the exposure that it's getting?
Yeah, it's interesting you asked that question. So I like to say it's practice. I've been writing every day for 5 years. So the stories I write are much easier to read and understand and visualize in your head than what most writers can put out there. So when someone starts writing their content and they're trying to put themselves out there, it's not going to be as good because they just don't know how to convey that message as well. It takes lots and lots of time. So you're talking about, every day for 5 years, that's maybe 10,000 hours, right? It's a lot of time.
Absolutely. So when you're getting this audience built up and you're creating this connections, you're creating this community essentially around your brand, how do you take that from Josh to man? Like, how do you monetize your storytelling?
I think part of it is use storytelling as the top of funnel content. And then one of the things that I do that not enough people do is I put the technical expertise right under it. So once I have all the attention, I say, I just don't have your attention. I have the expertise to back it. So you can actually trust me, right? So you get them to open the door, and then you get them to stay inside, right? And have that conversation with you. So nobody would read my technical content if I didn't have that top of funnel that relates to most people. The big mistake that a lot of people make is they just have that top of funnel and they don't have the expertise below it. So nobody wants to work with them at the end of the day. They have attention, but they don't have anybody willing to pay them.
Okay, that's awesome. That's really good things you bring up, because that's the thing a lot of people struggle with is when you're building your story and you're building your content and your brand, you can't just put noise out there. It's great to draw that attention. One of the things we're talking about with launching this YouTube channel is how do we get the overall top of funnel exposure and then segment those rivers into one leg, and that's where you make your money. So always focusing on breaking that down. So when you would leave an example, like say I put a content out about what we're doing right now, we're going to put this video up, how would you go about taking it to the next level? I mean, our goal is to attract more freelancers to let them know what's out there. So what would you say would be like the top 3 steps to getting that to work?
Yeah, so one is you have to define what story you're going to tell, right? There are so many stories that we all have, but there's going to be the one that you go to conferences and you speak about, the one that you share with people 150 times over. And if you can nail that and refine that, then you have your top of funnel story. And how you tell that is you could do it with viral videos, and you could do it through having like an incredible life journey. Say, hey, this is the story of my life and what happened, and this is why I do what I do today, right? And this is why I'm climbing Mount Kilimanjaro, whatever it may be, right? And Then below, it's like you have to be publishing a lot of written content if you want people to pay you. So video tutorials are also great, but people love reading blog posts, and it's much easier to get people, I would say, into actually your sales funnel if it's on a blog post. Videos are great for leading back to blog posts. So you'll notice that a lot of great entrepreneurs like Steli F, who's the founder of Close.io, made around 700 YouTube videos. Every one of his YouTube videos links back to a blog post. And that blog post is right on his site, so he's driving even more SEO juice, right?
Okay.
And boom, he uses that to drive them through his sales funnel and the call to action somewhere on his blog post, on his homepage, and then he's getting all the leads he wants.
That's amazing. So what's your story? What's your motivator? Why are you doing so much, not only for entrepreneurs, but for your customers, for everything? Like, what's driving you to want to be so vulnerable? Why are you doing all this?
I think I like to say, desperation breeds potential. And I was going through a time in my life where I just was VP of marketing for a failed startup. And then I interviewed at 4 companies. 3 of them are now worth $1 billion today. One's worth over $100 million. And all these companies had around 20 employees when I interviewed with them. And I didn't get a job at any of the companies, right? Which is pretty incredible. I mean, you're talking about Grammarly, Looker, Marketo. I mean, huge companies that we know today. I mean, Marketo's probably worth several $1 billion at least. And when I didn't get a job, I ended up moving back with my dad. I didn't have any money, and I said, well, no one wants to hire me because I worked at a failed startup, and I had a startup in college before that failed. And I said, okay, what can you do? Well, you can read and you can write. I'm like, that is it. So I didn't have any options, right? So I just started reading, I started writing, and I just saw what people like. Anytime I opened up a little bit, more people read my content. And it started this lengthy process of me sort of tearing at my heart each and every day until it was entirely open and people understood my story as a whole.
So when you built that story up, you knew right then and there that, hey, I'm going to build a marketing company. Like, was that your goal, or you just wanted to be heard?
I just wanted to be heard. The marketing company was never my intention. What ended up happening is I started reading a lot about how do I start a great company, and the main principle is get the right people on the bus. And that means that if you find somebody who you know you can work with, who you jive with, it's more important just to get them with you than what they're actually going to be working on, right? So when I met Houston, my co-founder, I was like, wow, I could work next to this guy 24 hours a day. And he's probably my best friend. I mean, there's just so many ways that we could work together. It was pretty incredible. I basically said, whatever he wants to do, I'll do. And he wanted to start an agency, so I said, okay, let's do it, because chances of me finding another person like Houston, maybe 4 years down the road. It took me 3 years just to find him. So I figured I'm not willing to wait another 3 years.
Yeah, that's an opportunity. Because there's one thing I've been told is that there's 25 exceptional people in the world that you have to meet. And if you can meet all 25 of those individuals, there's literally nothing that you cannot accomplish. So every day when you're going out there and you're trying to connect with new people, always look to explore the idea if they're one of those 25 people for you. And if not, try to help them connect with their 25. And that's kind of how the world works. If we're all helping to connect each other with new opportunities, so never think of yourself first, but also think of more about how you can help others, and they'll do the same for you. So, next I want to talk about is, BAMF. It's all the rage. Is there anything else you're working on that you can talk about at all? You talked about the platform you're making to help writers. I mean, could you tell us a little bit about that, or is it still kind of under wraps?
No, I can definitely talk about it. I would say it's my baby right now, just because I've been wanting to have a software company forever, and it's a software company built on something I'm already passionate about, which is writing. And how the idea came about, several years I used our competitor software, and I had the worst experience ever, and I said I wish there was something better. But I never actually realized that was a business opportunity several years ago, right? So what ended up happening is I just wanted to stay in that space somehow. So I started advising a startup in the AI content marketing space, and it turned out they didn't have any product market fit. So I asked them to basically remove 90% of their features and start over. And when they did that, most of their team quit. And I said, okay, well, we got to make this work. I'm going to do some research on the opportunities that are out there and see if we can build something for the content space. And that linked me back to the idea that I had 3 years ago, which was that issue that I had with that software. I said, I wonder if there's anything there. So after doing all the research, we found out there was. We started running some Google AdWords, and we got some people to pay for the software, validated it, and we actually hadn't even built it yet. We just built out the homepage, the payment page, and just to get that initial validation, say, hey, it's worth it putting a year of development into a product to make for this market.
Okay.
And now we're in the process of development, so it's really exciting, especially knowing that we can get customers.
So with your business model, do you think it works so well with you for the storytelling because your stuff's centered around writing and marketing? Would this work for just anyone that's like, say, I just started a healthcare startup or something like that? Does this style of marketing work for everyone, or is it just specific types?
Works for everyone. Everybody should be telling their story, and it's one of the main issues that I see today in every business. Almost everyone comes to me and says, I want better content marketing, but nobody wants to do it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's funny because when I tell them the steps that they need to take, they wish it wasn't that way, and they know it is, right? They know they have to be the ones. Or at least they have to find a great writer. And to find a great writer is often so painful just in of itself that either direction is going to just be very difficult. But still, you have to do it if you want to stand out. And you look at any company today that has a strong brand, they put out so much content. Like when you think of Salesforce, you think of Mark Benioff, you think of the founder, you think of the stories that come with him, how he was able to jump into some of the biggest meetings and close his clients. And then you look at companies like HubSpot. So Dharmesh, who was the founder of HubSpot, actually had a bigger brand and bigger reach than HubSpot for a very long time. And HubSpot's a $1 billion company. It's incredible, right?
Yeah, that is exceptional. And that's the thing that I wanted to talk about this topic for, is because when you're a freelancer, you're an entrepreneur, that is the number one driver in the beginning of your business is you. You are going to be bigger than your brand. And you need to understand that people do not buy products from companies. They're buying from you as an individual. When you're going into a sales meeting, when you're going into any kind of engagement, whether it be just to connect with another great individual like Josh Fechter, like, you have to understand, like, they're connecting with you, not the business. They're not coming to sign up for ease. They're coming to see, hey Nate, what are you up to? And there's different ways that we end up collaborating. So that's like super imperative. Please start telling your story, because as a freelancer, you are a brand, you are an identity, you are a culture, and so is everything that you touch. So make sure that story is beautiful and be told, because somebody else is going to get permission to do the same when you do it, because they see, oh my gosh, like, it's working for him. I'm going to take that leap now. So, that's really what I wanted to talk about today, Josh. I appreciate your time, and having me here in Venice Beach is absolutely exceptional. So we're going to have another video coming up, but I want to see, is there one piece of advice that you could give to some of our freelance entrepreneurs? Like, what would that be?
Yeah, so the one piece of advice is invest in the most compoundable skills. And the reason I started with writing is I can use writing for the next 60 years of my life. If I invest in writing today, I get 59 years more of benefit, right? And you think of some of the more creative arts that you don't get paid for a lot right away, but if you keep at them, so things such as video, even painting, right? These things, you actually get more benefit in the long run than most skills that you'll lose in like 5 years, right?
Yeah.
If you're a Facebook ads expert today, what if Facebook ads doesn't exist in 4 years, 5 years? It's very possible. And now you have to start all over. As a writer, I'll never have to do that.
That's absolutely true. So focus on those compounding skills. I couldn't agree with him anymore. And those are some very powerful words. Please take that with you and live with that, because it'll change your life forever. I appreciate you guys tuning in to Life with Ease. We got a lot more awesome people coming up.
You got to let